welcome back to another video. Today here again on Project Cars 3 to test out another new vehicle. It's not actually that new, it's the third of the cars from the first update, which was way back in autumn of last year, but it included other cars we've raced or driven recently, like the SF90 Stradale, which is also in hypercar class, and also the Lamborghini Sian, which is in Road A. So this is the final of those cars to test out. We did take a break from the cars from the pack and went and reviewed the Lotus Evija last time, just because I really wanted to drive that thing. But yeah, this is an interesting one, the Hennessey Venom F5. So 1,817 horsepower, 3,100 pounds, sorry. Let's jump in it and select a colour for our first drive. So we've got the yellow, obviously, we've got a nice matte black. Have we got anything a bit more interesting? There's some nice orangey red colours. There's that, which is very green. That's very green. It's quite a lot, actually. There's a couple that are sort of have slight liveries on. We might hop into something like that if we race it. Usually on these I do a drive first and then a race. That's really cool, actually. Yeah, I think if I race it, I'll probably use that livery. Ooh. Hang on. I mean, that's a colour, isn't it? Wow. Yeah, but there's many nice blues and greens. I think I'm going to go for that really bright green. And then find an circuit to test it out on. So, we come to Road America in the US, obviously an American car. Well, sort of. We'll get into that in a minute. I've got to remember to use gears as well, because obviously we drove the Lotus last time, which is an electric car. But yeah, here we go in our Hennessey Venom F5, which is obviously the successor to the original Venom. Actually, let's have a quick look in here. Oh, wow. Yeah, very extreme, kind of what you'd expect in here. Many wheel spins. Oh, it's still spinning. Yeah, typically I've gone off in the first corner, which I always do around here. Luckily, there's a big runoff. Anyway, so yeah, there was me saying it's mostly American. It's actually developed in collaboration with a company called Delta Motorsports, who are based near Silverstone in the UK. So it's technically slightly British. And apparently the previous car, the original Hennessey Venom, was actually assembled by this Delta Motorsport company near Silverstone. So they were actually built here, which kind of makes sense. They were heavily based on the Lotus, obviously the previous generation. This one, not so much. And it still has a very light car with a massive engine, 6.6 litre V8 this has, producing that 1,800 horsepower we talked about earlier. I'm going. Yeah, we will concentrate a bit more on the driving when we take a whole pack of these for a race. Probably around Silverstone, actually, as that's got some kind of connection to this vehicle. Oh. And round it goes. But yeah, successor to the Venom, this one called the F5, which if you're wondering why it's called that, is because F5 is the highest strength of tornado on the Fujita scale. So that's what it's named after. That part of the name. Only 24 of these are going to be built. Apparently 12 had been sold at the last time of checking. I'm guessing they're all gone by now. But interestingly, I think either they changed the price before they sold any, or the early ones were cheaper. I'm really not looking where I'm going. But yeah, they started being $1.6 million. That was the original planned price. And then they decided they wanted to charge $2.1 million. Which sounds like a lot, but when you convert that into pounds, it's 1.5 million. Still a lot of money, but slightly less. So yeah, a very expensive car. I don't think the previous Venom was that expensive. It's a lot of it. It was basically a Lotus with a big V8 in it, wasn't it? So. Yeah, the previous one, they basically took a Lotus, thought, this doesn't have much power and it's good at handling. Let's put a lot of power in it and make it not handle at all. And then, yeah, this obviously quite a different thing. But anyway, I think the best thing we can do with a very expensive hypercar that's 1.5 million and only 24 will be built is to race many of them around a circuit. So here we are at Silverstone with 31 out of the 24 cars that have been built, because that's how Project Cars 3 works. We can have 31 identical cars, even if only 24 have been built. But let's get going. 3 laps around Silverstone. Looks so good in the red, gold and black. That's always a winning colour scheme. Put it in gear. Many million pounds of cars are away. And we're losing positions already. Oh, I'm trying to drive around there like I would in a Formula 1 car, which is not going to work. That's what the very pink cars look like, if anyone was wondering. Yeah, this is... I really should run slightly less cars than this, because otherwise it's absolute chaos, but that's part of the fun. Oh, God. Things are happening. Oh. Yeah, it doesn't handle particularly well, even compared to the Lotus. Well, the Lotus is a Lotus, but it's fairly heavy being electric. This really likes to spin its wheels a lot. Hello, pink car. Whoa. Coming through on the inside. Actually, I'm doing better in this race than I was in the Lotus, anyway. Oh. It's amazing how much slower you have to go in a road car. Whoa. Oh God, that's not gone well. Hello. You can go over there. You know what? If you can't overtake them fairly, do that. Whoa. A lot of drifting happened. That was brilliant. Yes, that's definitely a perfect corner. Drift around it and push another car off the track, yes. Whoa. This thing is mad. Seems to want to kill you a lot more than the Lotus did. Whoop. All the use of the bit of the track that's not quite on the track. And the gravel, which isn't a good idea. Oh. Wow. Of course, the Lotus actually in this game has 800 horsepower less than this, even though in reality it's more powerful. So maybe that's why I was managing to drive that. Because this is just impossible, really. Oh my, what the? That was a big murder by one of the AI. That was worse than anything I've done this race. We're using this version of the track, right? This car is just ridiculous. And it's interesting to drive it on here because, as you probably know, it's not really... It's probably in some mobile games. It's not in any proper games other than this. And again, whenever I drive anything like this or the Avaya, I always say, I hope these are going to be added to Horizon 5. So that we can test them out in a game that handles slightly more realistically. There we go, nice and gently on the power, but then the problem is it's still wheel spinning when you reach 4th gear and go around that corner, which means you do a long drift, as it says. Oh wow, that's not gone well. And it's fine, we're just extending track limits slightly. Which we can do again here. Bit of our own interpretation of track limits, but do reasonably well in this race. Ooh, spitting fire at me. There you go, that is the Hennessey Venom F5. It's probably the worst handling car out of any of the things I've driven recently on here, actually. One thing that's going for it is actually a new car, unlike the Ferrari and the Lamborghini, which are kind of... Ferrari's just sort of another one. The Lamborghini's just a modified Aventador. This, like the Lotus, is at least its own thing. Unlike the previous Venom, which essentially was a Lotus. But anyway, yeah, not the best driving of those cars. Probably the last of those 4 cars that I would actually own. Lotus is easily my favourite, even though it's electric over this, the Lambo and the Ferrari. Anyway, that is it for all of the sort of cars that were added post-launch I'm going to look at in this game. But there are some other vehicles I would kind of like to look at, do similar style videos on, telling you a bit about the vehicle and then racing some of them, as well as maybe some comparisons between multiple cars in this game. So do let me know if you've enjoyed this one, because there's plenty more similar style videos I'd like to do on Project Cars 3. But that is going to be all for today's video, taking a first look at the not particularly new anymore Hennessey Venom F5 here on Project Cars 3. So thank you very much for watching, and I will be back with the next video very soon.